Hello, everyone. Welcome to our regular membership meeting. My name is Graham Murphy, Chair of the 34th Democrats. If you missed our program just now, it will be on our YouTube channel. And really appreciate our guests for sharing information about the situation in Gaza. And I'm certainly was a program that I was a bit uncomfortable having, but I'm glad we engaged in it and had an opportunity to hear about, truly the humans that are at the center of this crisis. And I really am hopeful that the Biden administration can strike at least a temporary ceasefire, if not a permanent one, and allow hostages to return home and aid to get to the people of Gaza. But you can watch the recording on our YouTube channel if you did miss that. Before we get into the heart of our program, first I want to officially call the meeting to order at 7:31 p.m. As we start our meeting this evening, I'd like to take a moment and recognize the profound loss for our community this evening. Last week, we lost our long-term 34th member and friend, Annie Phillips. Annie was an advocate for democracy, a winner of our 2021 award for lifetime achievement, and committed to environmental causes. In fact, she was a critical member of our Energy, Environment, and Land Use Caucus. And I've asked Randy Litzenberger, who chairs our caucus, to share memories of Annie. And if anyone would like to share additional memories or other thoughts about Annie, we'll use some time during the good of the order, so feel free to use that space. But Randy, if you want to unmute and share some thoughts now, we'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Chair Murphy. I appreciate the moment. Indeed, a profound loss tonight. And we know with Annie, 85 years young, she was an inspiration to so many of us. Many here in this gathering tonight knew her longer than I did. I only had the pleasure of working alongside Annie for the last 3 years. And I remember when previous chair, Carla Rogers, invited the two of us to get started with something, a member policy caucus. I was overjoyed as I got to know Annie about the quality of human being that I had been partnered with. We talked many times after our meetings of the 34th Energy, Environment, and Land Use Caucus that we made a good team. And I was always flattered to be the junior partner to somebody who had such lived experience. She was a film, TV, and radio star for over 30 years in Hollywood and parts west. She had the opportunity to go on to a new career after that in Washington State Department of Ecology, where she retired several years back. And she was a fantastic person to work with. I was so honored to be able to be her partner. She is survived by 3 children, Julie, Evan, and Allison, and 7 grandchildren who she thought of all the time. In our line of work, when we were trying to make a better planet and a better future, they were always foremost in her mind. And a celebration of life is scheduled for later this spring, perhaps late spring, early summer. The location and date are to be determined. That was to be shared courtesy of her daughter, Julie, who I had the chance to communicate with this past week. So Annie, remembering you, thinking of you, thank you for all these wonderful years. I yield my time back to the chair to bring our next speaker forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. And so sorry for your loss. And thank you for sharing those words. And again, if anyone has additional thoughts they'd like to share about Annie, you can use the go to the order space for that. You see on the screen the proposed agenda for our meeting this evening that was previously sent to PCOs and members. Is there any discussion or questions about the agenda?
I move the agenda.
Anna's moved. Any second?
Chris, second.
All right. Are there any objections to the adoption of the agenda? Any objections? Hearing no objections, the motion passes by unanimous consent and the agenda is adopted. You can also see on the screen the minutes from our January meeting. The minutes were also previously sent to PCOs and members. Are there any corrections to the minutes? All right, may I have a motion, please, to accept the minutes?
I move the minutes.
Rachel, second.
Are there any objections to the adoption of the minutes from our January 10th meeting? Any objections? Hearing no objections, the motion passes by unanimous consent and the minutes are adopted. I'm now going to turn things over to Julie Whitaker, our treasurer, for a review of our January financial report. Julie.
Hi, everybody. It was a great pre-meeting program, heart-wrenching. So I'll take a deep breath. Our beginning January, not December 1st, beginning balance was $10,768.68. Our income was $5,095.99. Our expenses were $1,590.83. So our ending balance is $14,273.84. Does anyone have any questions? Our expenses were all the normal monthly expenses. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay.
Great. Thank you, Julie. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll now move forward with our opening ceremonies. I'll ask Rachel to lead us through our land acknowledgement.
Thanks, Graham. Sorry. Okay. On behalf of the 34th LD Democrats, I acknowledge the land on which we stand today as the traditional home of the Coast Salish and Duwamish people, the traditional home of all tribes and bands within the Suquamish, Tulalip, Snoqualmie, Puyallup, and Muckleshoot nations. Without them, we would not have access to this gathering or to this dialogue. I ask that we take this opportunity to thank the original caretakers of this land on which we live and work, who are still here. As part of the 34th Dems' commitment to walking the walk, of taking action that goes beyond simply a verbal land acknowledgement, we are offering ways that you can take action with us by donating to organizations that benefit Indigenous communities in our district and across the country. The organization that I am highlighting tonight is Red Eagle Soaring. I will it is posted here. You can see the website and ways to connect with them. Please consider your one-time or monthly donation to this Indigenous-led organization as a way to solidify your commitment to the advocacy of our Indigenous neighbors and to deepen the significance of our land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Rachel. I'm now pleased to turn things over to Chris Porter and our King County Democrats representative, and Preston Anderson, our King County Democrats alternate representative, to lead our acknowledgement of Black History Month. And Chris and Preston, you'll just have to let me know when to click to the next slide when you're ready.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and begin the initial portion. Correct, Chris? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So you go ahead and click forward, Graham, please. So just due to limited time, we could go hours upon hours about Black history, especially in Washington State, but we're just going to kind of just provide a quick slice of history. So the overview, just talk about the Great Migration, Seattle's Black community, and Black consciousness is something that I'm pretty passionate about. So I'll cover that very briefly, and then fair housing, we'll touch on that. So advance the next slide. So during the first, the Great Migration for Black people kind of broken down in two phases. The first phase was from 1910 to 1940. What you saw during that period was a lot of people from the South essentially locked on land as modern day serfs, making their way out to places like Chicago, New York, Pittsburgh area during that first part of the 20th century. And then later on, you saw the second phase of the Great Migration from the South, folks moving even further outside of the South into places like California, Washington State, where there was a great industrial manufacturing jobs during the war and then following the war. So you saw most of Washington State's Black migration occurred during that time between the 1940s and the 1970s. And then also during this time, in response to, sorry, you could advance the next one, but also in response to the movement or the migration of Black people to many parts of white America, particularly Washington State, which we'll talk about in a moment, racial covenants were developed in response to the influx of the Black community in those areas. And we'll talk about that in a second. You can go ahead and advance the next slide. So this just kind of gives you a snapshot of kind of the growth of the Black population here in Washington State. So there definitely was a presence of Black people in Washington State in the 19th century. Probably the earliest and most notable figure, Black figure in Washington State or the Northwest Territories was Lewis and Clark's slave/companion, York, that joined them on the expedition. And there were a few other prominent Black pioneers in the mid-19th century. And some folks here, I suspect, are history buffs. They probably know those names, but one of the more prominent ones is George Washington, who founded Centralia, a Black man that moved to the area in 1850 something. You can advance to the next slide. So again, just reiterating the draw of the Black population outside the South. The draw was, several things. More freedom, freedom from Jim Crow, and then also the attraction of, good paying jobs. And so the Puget Sound area was a place for Black families to put down roots and find good manufacturing jobs. One of the largest employers in the area at the time, for a long time, for several generations, was Boeing. So a lot of folks working in the aerospace industry, then also shipbuilding, which, an aside, I would hope that Puget Sound kind of reclaims that title of being a prominent shipbuilding place. But anyways, shipbuilding was pretty prominent back in the day, and that also employed many Black families. You can advance the next slide. Racial covenant. So this is actually, if I recall right, I can't see my notes on the slides, but if I recall, this is a racial covenant, the verbiage of the racial covenant for a particular development in Northwest Seattle and the Shoreline area, which was funded and promoted by William Boeing, so of the Boeing family. They included this verbiage in the racial, the covenants for selling and limiting access to properties in those developments. And you can see pretty clearly that kind of just the strong language that's included in that racial covenant. You can advance the next slide. So reparative justice in housing. So we just recently, last year, I had the honor to attend the bill signing at the Northwest African American Museum with the governor, and then one of the primary sponsors of the bill, Jamila Taylor. She's a representative out of Federal Way, state representative out of Federal Way. And they had the bill signing for providing reparative justice for what had occurred to many Black families throughout Washington State of being denied the economic mobility that many of their white peers were allowed to, because they could move freely, but Black families were largely restricted to certain areas throughout Washington State. And it was definitely an acute situation in King County in Seattle with where you could move around at the time. So the idea behind the bill is that for those families that had experienced immediate harm, I believe it goes back to prior to the 1968 Fair Housing Act. So those families that were impacted by those racial covenants and redlining are eligible, the immediate individuals impacted by that, and also family members that are related to those individuals that were impacted by the unfair housing practices prior to 1968 will be given interest-free loans and other incentives to purchase homes. And the way that the state is going to do that is by adding an excise tax of, I believe, about $100 to each real estate sale. You can advance the next slide. So the racial covenant and the redlining was a little bit about kind of just bringing history to the present with what happened last year with the bill signing. So all that said, one thing that I'm pretty passionate about is how political movements start, and like certain I guess strange of ideology kind of influences social justice movements. And what I mean by that is, in this scenario, you see in the picture, you see not Louis Gossett, Larry Gossett, former King County council member, longtime King County council member in the background with the afro and glasses. This is a picture with the Black student union at UW. This may be a picture taken in 1967 or post 1967. I suspect it's probably post 1967, because what happens in this time, so prior to 1967, and there's a really great interview that Larry Gossett gives, and actually the link you can find, and I think Chris can probably distribute the slideshow, but on the link off to your right, you see a website where it has kind of all these archives, and it has an interview with Larry Gossett, and it talks about his exposure to more radical ideas within the Black consciousness movement. And so prior to 1967, Larry Gossett admittedly says, I just wanted to go to school, get a good job, and provide for my family. But he had joined the Vista program, which took him out to New York in 1967, and he was placed in Harlem. And so during that time in Harlem, Malcolm X had been killed in 1965. So there was still kind of the strong movement of the Black consciousness identity, especially in Harlem, where Malcolm X was present and oftentimes would have his meetings. So Larry Gossett's out there, but during this time out in New York in 1967, Stokely Carmichael, which was profoundly influenced by Malcolm X and his teachings about Black consciousness, and about Black nationalism, came to Seattle, spoke at Garfield High School in 1967, and had a profound impact on the community during that time, and actually kind of fueled the momentum for the Black students at UW. And following Stokely Carmichael's presence in Seattle, the Black student union movement gained momentum to make sure that there is a higher admission rate of Black students, and also there's going to be African American studies in UW. So a whole series of things happens after this meeting with Stokely Carmichael. And you could say that his presence, which was kind of maybe radical at the time, Stokely Carmichael's positions was radical at the time, nonetheless led to a more kind of dignified movement for the Black community in Seattle. And there's several other layers to that. If a person is interested in kind of delving deeper into, who influenced Malcolm X, besides, him being early on in the Nation of Islam, you could, go to Marcus Garvey and several other individuals that influenced the Black consciousness movement within the United States. But I'll leave it at that. There's several layers to it, and it would require too much time, but you could advance to the next slide.
I think that was the last slide.
Okay, great.
Do you have another slide that I'm missing?
Did you want to add anything else, Chris?
It helps when you come off mute. Yes, there were about 3 slides. I don't know where they dropped
Okay, hold
off.
on. Let me fix maybe they all didn't get copied over. Okay, I'm gonna pull the original deck here. No, the one you sent me stops at slide 8, so I don't know.
Oh. Oh my. What do you know? And I thought I sent it all. Well, I will ad lib it on this one and
Okay,
just
sorry.
talk about that. The next 2 slides really had to do with more centered around housing. Owning a house is how we in this country build generational wealth. And in King County, since the 1970s, Black home ownership has been on a decline. Obviously, with a number of Black residents that were living in the CD being displaced and the rising cost of housing causing folks to move further north and or south are factoring into this. But in building this generational wealth, there's a key thing that we all have to understand. If you live in a house or your parents have lived in a house that has $200,000 of equity in it, you are more likely to own a home and or receive financial assistance from your parent or family member, either to purchase a home or complete education. One of the biggest barriers, and this is something that the Biden administration passionately addressed, was the issue of appraisals. When Black homeowners have their homes appraised, they are appraised at 20 up to 23% less than the market value. And if we think about them not getting that 23%, they're never going to have that generational wealth. I will put in a chat a clip of a family in which they were a biracial couple. They put their house up for sale, and this was in Marin City in California. Put their house up for sale. They got the appraisal. The appraiser came out and appraised their house for like $987,000, which sounds like a lot, but they had done extensive renovations and added a second story to the house, and they just felt something was off. One thing that's clear: when Black homeowners sell their house, they have to, what is known in the vernacular, to de-Black the house. That is to take down pictures and anything that indicates that there was a Black homeowner, so that when the appraiser comes in, they're more likely to give the appraisal as it should be. So when this couple did that, and the husband stayed behind and waited for the appraiser, that appraisal went from $987,000 to $1.5 million. So they had experienced almost a $500,000 increase in the value of their home because the appraiser assumed that the homeowner was white. And that is the kind of thing that bears down on homeowners, Black homeowners, in trying to move up the ladder, if you will, even when they have a home and seek to get it appraised. One last thing I want people to appreciate is what happens with these FICO scores. FICO scores, everything about us is centered around whether or not we're going to get the next credit card or home loan or what have you. It's based on your FICO score. If you don't own a home, your average FICO score will probably never peak above 700, 720. And that is because the FICO score is centered around payments to a mortgage. And it looks heavily at that in the calculation of the FICO score. It does not look at payments in rental or payments in utility. The average FICO score for African Americans is 677 compared to 745 for Caucasians. So even with that, they're more likely to be stuck with higher interest rates and poorer loan conditions, even if they do get a home. Probably one of the saddest things I read was Navy Federal Credit Union, the largest credit union in this country, recently was audited by the Consumer Protection Plan that Senator Warren championed. And they found that since 1933, when they first opened their doors, they had been systematically denying African Americans loans. And when they did give them loans, they were shuttled into the subprime market. Even when they did tests where they had African Americans who had a higher FICO score and more money to put down, they still were offered higher interest rates and poorer loan terms from the nation's largest credit union. So it is a battle to build generational wealth when embedded in the system, from the appraisal to loans, that heavy amount of racism. So it's something to think about when we talk about white privilege and access to these things, how much that impacts people of color around a system that is integrated, built, and systemically not in their favor, and making it that much more difficult. I think about when we get ready to sell the house where I live here in West Seattle, I will probably more than likely follow the advice of many other Black homeowners and have to do that, leaving my Caucasian husband to sell the house or obtain the appraisal, as not to find us 23% less in value than what we know the house to be worth. So those are some of the takeaways when we talk about generational wealth, housing displacement, community displacement, and how what those challenges and barriers are if you are a person of color, in this case, African American, either seeking to purchase a home or trying to sell a home. And I have some papers that I wrote on LinkedIn that look at some of those dynamics and what feeds into it. And one of the last things that the President Biden administration did was look closely at the appraisal process and are putting in steps that are just now in place to try to combat the structural racism that is centered around appraisals. So those are some of the things I want folks to walk away with as we talk about Black History Month, and highlight some of the pioneers, but also those barriers, struggles, and systems that make it difficult as we look at our white peers who enjoy things like a much greater generational wealth and value in their homes. So I do want to thank you all for listening. Thank you.
Sorry, I muted myself again. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Preston. Really appreciate the insights you all just shared, the history, the discrimination that is still happening today, and work that's being done to address it. Thank you. Really appreciate your time tonight. I'm now happy to welcome multiple Democratic candidates running for statewide office in our candidate spotlight. So this is, for those of you who've not attended one of these before, this is an opportunity for candidates to introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about who they are for up to 5 minutes. This is not an official forum nor an endorsement meeting, and there's no Q&A. I encourage you all to take time to learn more about each of the candidates. You can visit their websites as well as read, I'm sure, interviews and other publications that have talked about them. Senator Makadingra planned to participate tonight, but had a last-minute conflict, but we're hoping that we can reschedule in the future. Candidates, I normally, if the chat feature was working, I would send you a 1-minute warning. I cannot do that because the chat feature is not working this evening. So I simply ask that if you have a phone near you with a timer function, turn that on and set it to 5 minutes so that you can check your time, but I'll also let you know when your time is up as well. So I'm gonna take down the presentation so that we can see our candidates. First, I'm happy to introduce State Superintendent Chris Rickdahl to share his candidate spotlight.
Great. Thank you so much. It's really good to see you all again. Last time was in person and this time remote. We were very creative, so I'm excited about the chance. I'm Chris Rickdahl, State Superintendent, running for re-election here. I shared a little bit last time we talked about kind of the imminent thing that's happening in the country, and it's certainly landed here in the state of Washington, and that's school privatization. You watched Ron DeSantis build an entire grassroots network across the country thinking he was going to get the nomination, so he built this Moms for Liberty network. It's a lot about rage against public ed, against teachers. You've seen the lies and the mythology, the absolute dismantling of public trust. It's all very intentional. So as I run for re-election, I really think there are 3 things that are going to be paramount in the next 4 years. Number 1 is defending public ed. I mean, genuinely putting public education back in the forefront of our thinking, which means reminding everyone not only is it our paramount duty for funding, it is the most democratic institution that we've created in this country. It's got lots of challenges. It has had its own incredible history, following up on the presentation we just had, in racial discrimination and bias against recent immigrants and bias against those with disabilities. So it is not a system that is perfect. It's got a constant evolution to it. to create a more equitable opportunity. We've got record high grad rates, fastest grad rates now. Growth rate is Native American youth, African American youth, and low income. So it isn't that we don't have challenges, it's that we lose every opportunity for the democratic tool that is public ed once you privatize. You've seen it in Florida, Texas, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Arkansas, Louisiana, Arizona is the latest to do this route. They're $1 billion in the hole now. 3/4 of their voucher dollars are going to people who never were in public school. It's simply subsidizing the wealthy private school system and bankrupting the public schools, where you then concentrate a greater group of students who are low income and struggling, or students with disabilities, because wealthy, privileged families just take their money and leave. So defend public ed. Number 2, fully fund it. I know you all tracked the McCleary court ruling from 7 years ago. We peaked in funding 5 years ago. And ever since 2018, our funding per student adjusted for inflation has declined. We're now down $1,000 a kid from our peak from 5 years ago. That's $1 billion that should be in the system today just to maintain the investment levels that we put in place 5 years ago. And even since then, we've added programming and added incredible things like feeding 300,000 more kids and adding transitional kindergarten and a host of other things. So focusing on public, focusing on the right investments. And here's the last thing I'll say to you, and I know you all can relate to this as parents, grandparents, and uncles and aunts of young people. They are overwhelmed with mental health and anxiety challenges today. We have made incredible progress building regional mental health systems. We have the suicide rate down significantly from pre-pandemic. Now, you won't read about this in the Seattle Times because all they want to do is attack public schools and attack and attack. And quite frankly, they're attacking labor when they do that as well. But we've made these incredible strides, but it's a Band-Aid. It's a back-end thing to build mental health referral systems and intervention systems and crisis teams and reducing suicide is because kids are in acute crisis. That's a back-end system. On the front end, all the research is now finally pointing to a really clear culprit, and that's that device that every kid's walking around with almost ubiquitously now from age 11 on. So for 6 or 7 years, they're spending 4 to 6 hours a day on social media, getting pounded with misinformation, anxiety-ridden information, fear-mongering for clicks. There's a whole revenue model to it. We don't have time to go into it tonight, but I want you to know I've placed this in the top 3 because we can do something about it. I'm rewriting our learning standards right now in English language arts and some other subjects. We are building information, digital, and media literacy in the earliest of grades. 5-year-olds are going to start getting some instructional support and understanding of what these tools are, why these algorithms chase them around, what is the strength of them, what is the weakness. And of course, in a world of AI, we're going to run into that with hope and ambition and success, but we've got to put a framework around it because in the social media world of 12 years ago, we thought that would sit outside the schoolhouse door. It clearly did not. It followed our kids around. The public system of education in America had missed the moment to teach through it, its strengths and weaknesses and opportunities. We just let it run kids over. We're prepared this time like never before, but I think the next superintendent's going to have to deal with keeping schools relentlessly public and fighting off privatization. We cannot send our money to churches and for-profit schools and testing companies. We got to fully fund our schools with public dollars, keep them local, and we've got to build these learning standards around information, media, and digital literacy to lower student anxiety and help them understand the world they're living in. As you know, I was the first author of the sexual health ed bill that ultimately ended up on the ballot, first ballot in the history of the United States, where the voters challenged sex ed. We passed it overwhelmingly. That was a moment about not ignoring what was happening, particularly to our LGBTQ youth and women who are disproportionately sexually harassed and abused. That was about leaning into it with standards and teaching into that moment. And that's what we're going to have to do now with social media and AI. So that's what I got for you. It's good to see you. I love to see you again in person. I will do that for sure, but it's a statewide race, complicated race, lots of right-wing folks coming into it. So appreciate any support you all can offer. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Yes, appreciate it. And please don't make me think I have to get my kid a phone at 11.
Yeah.
Thank you, Superintendent Richtel. I'm now pleased to welcome Washington State Treasurer Mike Pelliciotti.
Great. Thank you, Graham. It's so great to join all of you. Actually, when I was first elected as treasurer in 2020, our campaign was the only Democratic campaign in the nation running for state executive office that beat a Republican incumbent in 2020, the only one in the country. And we did that despite the fact we were one of the only statewide campaigns in the country to reject all corporate campaign donations. We did that because of the grassroots support. And that's why I always enjoy the opportunity to connect with local party leaders like yourself, because it was actually through your support that we were able to do what we did. And one of the things I always point out is that it is now absolutely clear to me, it was before and it is now, that there is no position in state government, no elected position, where it is more important not to have any corporate campaign donation entanglements than your state treasurer. I can assure you of that. And I always start by talking a little bit about what the treasurer's office does. We handle certain state and local investments for the state. We handle debt management, which is a fancy way of saying we kind of finance our debt obligations. And then I also serve as the state's banker, but then, in terms of cash flow, but then also handle different financial policy matters. So as it comes to our investments, one of the first things I did as state treasurer is I actually changed our investment policy to prohibit state treasurers from investing in the same corporations that fund their campaigns. And you might say for a second, like, well, shouldn't that be how it is automatically? That is not how it is. And that was one of the first things that I did as state treasurer. And I'm pleased to say for the funds that I directly manage now, our returns through our environmental, social, and governance guided approach, our ESG guided approach, environmental, social, and governance guided approach, by implementing that investment strategy, our returns are now 50 times what they were when I came into office. You might have said, did I just hear him right and say 50 times? The answer is 50 times the return. That means an extra $1.8 billion in new money we are sending to the state of Washington. New money, $1.8 billion through our sustainable investment strategies. An extra $3 million more a day go into local governments. So just to do the foundational work of the state, we are just kind of transforming things in terms of allowing the state now to, we have great legislators you're going to hear from in a moment. They invested more in social services last year than any time in the history of the state of Washington, in large part because of the extra billions of dollars that we were able to send to the state treasury to do the good work of the state of Washington. So we're handling that well. From our investment, our debt management, I've refinanced our debt in a way that we have now redirected $532.2 million that was otherwise being wasted to Wall Street and interest payments, and redirected that to the people of the state of Washington. $532.2 million. Can't be any more clear about this. That was going to be wasted in interest payments that is instead staying with the people of the state of Washington to do good, important work. So I'm really pleased about that. I always point out that for, look, we as Democrats, we hear it every now and again in terms of Democrats managing finances. Here's the reality. The Republicans in Congress are willing to drive our economy and our finances into a ditch. They are not willing to pay our bills. They are downgrading our credit. We in the state of Washington, and it's Democrats that are leading the way in terms of responsible public finances. And I want you to wear that proudly. I want you to go out there and remind people of that. And we're also putting together the thoughtful policies that are going to move the needle to address the capital limitations that are all too often a reality. We were just hearing from Chris about the realities of generational wealth and issues like that. It's why I have a core belief that we need to be doing three things: create economic opportunity at birth, create the opportunity for people to economically thrive throughout their career, and create opportunities for retirement dignity and retirement security later in life. That's why our office has put forward policies, our Washington Future Fund, our baby bonds proposal, to allow for the injection of capital to address the fact that 47% of Washingtonians are being born to low-income families today. We need to address the wealth gap. The Washington Future Fund baby bonds proposal will do just that. Next, financial education. We had a bill that just passed in the Senate Education Committee today. It's already passed the House, unanimously in the House, unanimously through committee today, that would finally require that financial education be taught in our schools. It is identified time and time again what a critical empowerment tool financial education is. We're trying to move that forward this session. We're hopeful we're going to get that passed. And then finally, I'll wrap up with our Washington Saves proposal. That was my timer, so I can remind myself that 5 minutes. Our Washington Saves proposal, which would allow to address the fact that 2 out of 3 millennials have zero retirement savings today. We have a proposal to change that. It's passed the Senate. It's now passed the House committee just today. We're moving forward on that as well. So thanks so much for the opportunity to join you. thanks for giving me a chance to tell you the Washington State Treasurer's position is actually fun. We're doing exciting stuff. And I want to thank you for making this happen.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing awareness to this critical position and reminding us that Democrats are good on fiscal policy. Let's not see
Yes.
ground.
Not just good, we're better. We're the best.
Better, yes.
That's right. So good to see you, Graham. Thanks so much.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you all.
All right, I'm now pleased to welcome Senator Rebecca Saldana, who is running for Public Lands Commissioner.
Thank you, 34th. It's so nice to see you this evening. I apologize for my bad lighting, but I'm calling you from Olympia. And I want to begin by just also sharing my dear colleague, Senator Dhingra. I know she was planning to be here tonight, but had multiple events as we're trying to get through the last couple of weeks of session. But I know she looks forward to being before you in the future. So thank you so much for giving me time. It's great to be here with this impressive list of colleagues and elected leaders. As Graham said, my name is Rebecca Saldana, and I'm the proud state senator of the 37th Legislative District across I-5 in South Seattle and incorporated King County. But I think many of you know that I was born and raised in the 34th, just off of Delridge, walking distance from Bellingham Steel at the time, which is now Nucor, and many of my loved ones still live here. So I have a very special place for the 34th. And I'm here today to ask for your sole endorsement in my race to be your next Commissioner of Public Lands. I'm proud to be endorsed by Senator Joe Nguyen and Representative Emily Alvarado of the 34th, as well as King County Council Member Teresa Mosqueda, who I believe I saw here earlier today, and elected leaders across our community in every corner of Washington State. We're running a true grassroots campaign. In a nod to my organizing days with the farm workers and the janitors, I know how firsthand how crucial coalition building is to make sure that we get justice for our lands and for our people, and making sure that as we think about our public lands, our forests, our waters, and our waterways, that we make sure that we're stewarding it with climate change in mind, and with with people like you who care so deeply about our environment, and making sure that we have a beautiful, safe place, not just for ourselves, but for the next generations to come. DNR needs a leader who can leverage a range of experiences and relationships to partner with our federal representatives, our tribal nations, who I just was with earlier today, state elected-wide officials, local junior districts, and our state legislature to continue to build upon and uphold public lands for all people. I am the progressive candidate in this race with a proven track record of successful coalition building, engaging with communities that have historically been disenfranchised, and being on the ground fighting for workers' rights and environmental protections. I have the expertise and experience and record to lead. I was at the corner of making sure that we put a price on carbon and made sure that we use the revenue from that to make sure that we're ushering in a clean energy future where we no longer have to suffer from pollution and addiction to oil, but instead can be able to steward our lands for the betterment of us all. I was the co-founder of the Front and Centered Environmental Justice Coalition and was part of our Alliance for Jobs and Clean Energy. And over the past 8 years, I have shown that I'm willing to do hard work, make compromise, but make sure that we never compromise our values. And I'm the best positioned to run a statewide campaign to defend our legislative wins and defeat the corporate big timber and oil opponents that are coming for all that we've done over the last 7 years. Jamie Herrera Beutler is part of a Republican effort to confuse and divide the people of Washington. And we know Republicans are going to pour resources into this public lands race and have their eyes set on turning this seat red if we do not come together soon. I have seen their inside game here in Olympia and have been at the center of fighting against it. I've been part of building infrastructure for progressives across our state, working with folks in Yakima Valley and the Central Valley, making sure that we pass the Voting Rights Act to make sure that we have representative democracy that puts people first. And my commitment to workers' rights, living wage jobs, and coalition building is what will make this job successful. My approach to environmentalism is a little bit different because I know that it's about being in right relationship with people and our planet, that it's not against, it's not folks working on in timber against environmentalists, that there is a way forward when we listen to each other, when we build a big enough table for all of us to be working together. So this beautiful place that we call home is worth fighting for, and that's why I've stepped up to run for Public Lands Commissioner. And as many of you know, I have had to face a fight for my own health and well-being this year. And I can tell you that it has made me more focused to make sure that I do everything I can with every day that I have to make sure that we are putting our children first, making sure that we have clean air and water and beautiful, healthy forests to create revenue, but more important, to make sure that we're actually creating clean air and water for our kids and for all of us. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here before you. And I look forward to having many conversations and earning individual and the 34th endorsement. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Really appreciate your time tonight and encourage everyone to check out your campaign materials. Thank you. All right, I'm now also pleased to welcome our last candidate in the spotlight, Senator Patty Kuderer, who is running for Insurance Commissioner.
Thanks, Graham, and good evening, everyone. I'm Senator Patty Kuderer from the 48th Legislative District. That's Bellevue, Redmond, Kirkland, and the Points communities. And I'm here to ask for your support and your endorsement in the race for Insurance Commissioner. We're going to have a lot of races this year, and I don't want this one to be overlooked. It's a low publicity, but incredibly important position that we have at the state. And we're one of about a dozen states that actually elects their insurance commissioner. And interestingly, in addition to electing an insurance commissioner, the statute that created the office, it says that the insurance commissioner is to act in the public interest. I interpret that to mean that the insurance commissioner is to be a public advocate. And I think that comes naturally to me. I've been in the legislature since 2015, first as a representative and serving as a senator since 2017. And in my other job, I'm a trial attorney and a consumer advocate. So I've been in that role for a long time. As a trial attorney, I handled employment cases, which will give me some unique skills in helping to rebuild the Office of the Insurance Commissioner. Because if you've been following the news, there has been a loss of talent there. So whoever gets in there will be in a rebuilding mode. I'd like to say that I was very productive in my years as a legislator. I've gotten some very big bills passed into law, including the first in the country right to counsel in evictions, which is critically important. And we actually revised the eviction process to make it to stop it from being a slam dunk and to actually give people a chance to stay housed. I also had the bill that finally killed advisory votes, and I'm sure you know who brought us those. There was actually an attempt to bring those back recently, but we're going to make sure that those don't return and pollute our ballots. I'm also a mom, and one of the reasons that this job, that I want this job of the insurance commissioner is because I know how important that office is in terms of implementing healthcare policy. We passed a whole suite of reproductive justice policies since the Dobbs decision. That the insurance commissioner's office is charged with making sure that they are fairly implemented. But the other thing is that I'm a very strong advocate for universal health care, and that goes back to the birth of my daughter. She was born at 1 pound, 3 ounces, 3 months early, spent 5 months in the hospital, and I had to fight the insurance company to pay for her life-saving care. I won, but I'd like to think that it was really because I had already sued insurance companies by that time. But when I looked around in the NICU and saw the other families there, I just had to think that they were doing the same thing to them. When I brought her home at 5 months of age, there was a letter saying that she had nearly reached her lifetime cap. This was obviously pre-Obamacare, but I can tell you that flipped a switch in me and made me a permanent advocate for universal health care, because I realized that our healthcare system, which is for profit, is morally bankrupt. So I want to make the office consumer centric. consumer-centered. I want to make sure that people know that there's an open door and there's a complaint process actually when you do have an issue with your insurance company, no matter what kind of insurance it is that you may have an issue with. And believe me, we're hearing about issues with all kinds, including homeowners and long-term care. So that's what I'm aiming to do, is to not only rebuild the office of the insurance commissioner, but really grow it and make it stronger than ever, and really make it a voice for people when it comes to balancing or addressing the imbalance of power that exists naturally between the insurance industry and the insureds. And I'll leave you with this one last thought. The insurance industry, I've been told by the current commissioner, is nervous about my candidacy. And aside from they should be, I'll just say that that should tell you all you need to know. I have 2 opponents, and I would very much welcome your support and your endorsement. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Senator. Really appreciate it. And thank you for also bringing attention to another critical statewide position that we need to be fighting for and winning this year. All right, I am happy that our King County Council member Mosqueda has joined us, and want to invite her to share any updates from the King County Council at this time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and good to see everybody from the 34th. I am glad to be here with you, and also here with you in celebrating the life and legacy of Annie Phillips. I had a double book tonight, but I got messages from folks as that news was being announced this evening, and absolutely tragic loss, but an incredible life and legacy that she lives behind. I actually knew Annie. I grew up with her in Olympia. She's a friend, my friend's mom. So we grew up in Olympia together on Cooper Point Road. And as I've been running for office over the last 6+ years, she's been there all the time cheering us on, and that includes last year. So I look forward to celebrating her life with all of you all as members and family of the 34th, and I know now the 33rd as well will join us in that celebration. I'm honored to be here as your King County Council member. Thank you again to the 34th for your support throughout last year. And I know this is just about quick updates. So Graham, I just wanted to put 2 things on folks' radar, and hopefully we can join you again soon. One is that we are in the midst of the comprehensive plan updates. So for folks who are on Vashon Island, 4-4, we will be out there on April 4th in the evening, and would love to hear more from you. I see some folks on the line. Look forward to hearing more from you about the comprehensive plan and any items you'd like to see included as part of the unincorporated comprehensive plan update. The same is true for White Center and other areas of unincorporated King County. They're going to be hosting like a Southwest King County forum on 5/16, May 16th. It's actually going to be hosted in Skyway. So hopefully members of the 34th who are members of our White Center neighborhood will join us as well there. So this really just affects unincorporated areas, but very much appreciate the 34th and your interest in sharing that information out. And lastly, I'll just put on the radar, I am going to be coming back probably regularly to the 34th and making sure that all of our LD members are joining us in the call for investing in our public health clinics. I want to thank members of the state legislature who are actively working on shoring up and supporting King County public health clinics. In many ways, our region, thanks to Public Health Seattle King County, was able to respond quicker and faster and more efficiently to the COVID crisis because we had brick and mortar clinics. We had co-located facilities with community health clinics as well as school-based health clinics. And we were able to have a on-the-ground presence of trained public health personnel for issues like the COVID crisis and other public health emergencies. And other jurisdictions are also beginning to build more brick and mortar, go with more federally qualified health center reimbursement strategies. Snohomish County, for example, just went that way. And we know Multnomah County has just gone that similar way. So looking forward to having a conversation about how we continue to support our public health clinic, the workers, but especially the clientele that we know rely on our public health facilities, and much more to come on that. But a special thank you to our state legislative members who are actively working on helping us invest in that core critical service that King County residents rely on. So more to come on public health and how we can support the clinics in the future. And thanks in advance to any advocacy and support from our state legislative partners on that. Thank you, Graham.
Thank you, council member. I'm now gonna share some exciting news, which is that we have, oops, if I can get the slides to go forward. We have 3 PCOs, only on the screen we have 2 right here, but we actually tonight have 3 PCOs that we are going to be hopefully appointing to their positions, which is absolutely critical to our get out the vote efforts in this vital election year. So we have Lauren Schmidt and Carrie Sikorsky, and also our council member who we just heard from. We're going to be appointing her tonight too, hopefully. So this is we'll be asking each of them to share just a few words about why they want to be a PCO or why they decided to become a PCO. We'll read the oath and then we'll move to a motion. Only PCOs can vote in this. And Nick, are you there? Can you hear me? Are you able to talk?
I can, yes.
Okay, I just have a question about the oath since I haven't done this before. Do I read it and then they repeat after me, or?
Yes.
Okay.
No, you read it. They will say yes at the end of it. So
yes, at the end of okay, so they don't need to repeat after me. Okay, got it. Great.
Yeah.
That makes things easier. Thank you. And thanks to Nick. And he's brought together an incredible committee who has been out there recruiting new PCOs, and we have our event on Saturday, March 2nd. So in about a week and a half, really looking forward to seeing our PCOs there. All right. So as I said, I have an honor tonight of first introducing Lauren Schmidt. Lauren, if you could unmute and just share a little bit about why you want to be a PCO or what made you decide to become one.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Hope you can hear me nicely. We'll just assume that you can. So I moved to West Seattle from the Laurelhurst neighborhood last April, and my daughter is now 8 months old after this move. We bought our house here. And walking my neighborhood here in Arbor Heights has made me realize just how much I want her to feel a sense of community with her neighborhood and to grow up knowing that there are people in this community that care about what's happening here in King County, across the state, and also across the country with their elected officials. And I want her to see me and my wife in that role, knocking on doors, engaging with their neighbors, having those conversations that really drive people to the polls and getting those ballots in the mail. So that's why I want to do it.
Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate it. Thank you for stepping up. Carrie, I'll now turn things over to you.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I'm on Vashon Island. And the reason that I'm here tonight is because another PCO in a nearby adjacent precinct came by my house, knocked on my door, and asked if I'd be interested in doing this. And it didn't take me long to say yes. I've been avidly following national politics and knowing that I ought to be more involved. Sorry, my dog in my lap is making noise. That I ought to be paying more attention to local politics. And I don't think it's it's never been more important, I think, to be involved on a daily or frequent basis with everything, and really inspired me tonight to hear the candidates that came forward to just realize how much talent we have down ballot and how we need to keep people engaged with that. So I said yes, and I appreciate being approached, and I'm happy to serve and do what I can during this appointment.
Thank you. Thank you for saying yes. We appreciate it. And council member.
Well, thank you. It's hard to say no when the 34th asks you for something, because you all are always there on the ground, doing so much, creating these educational forums. And I want to, thank Preston and Chris for their presentation today. Every time we tune into the 34th, we know there's like an early educational opportunity to sit with community and learn something new. And also you bring together candidates to have really informed debates and discussions and make sure that the residents of the 34th understand who is running for office and how the residents' issues are being elevated, not just in the campaign, but even after people get elected, and creating these opportunities for the electeds to stay engaged with members of the 34th is part of our process. We need to have residents driving the policy. So you all have created this forum to make sure that we have an education loop between electeds and candidates and residents, and being part of that loop and fueling that process that the 34th makes possible every year is something I would very much want to be engaged in and give back in this way. And I think the real call for action was just recognizing how much is at stake this year with so much misinformation and disinformation, and the intentional efforts, from, of course, the Trump candidacy and Trump machine, but also other people who are piling onto that type of strategy to further misinformation and distrust. And the more that people just say, well, I don't even know who's telling the truth, the less likely they are to vote. We need to be the PCOs who are out there helping inform candidates, providing them with unbiased information about how to engage in the process and get plugged in so that ultimately more people vote. I'd be honored to be part of the team that is the 34th that does this work every year.
Thank you. And thanks for keep saying yes to us. Really appreciate it. All right, I'm going to read the oath, and then at the end, I'll just ask for you all your agreement. So I'm willing to serve as an appointed Democratic Precinct Committee officer until December 1st, 2024. I recognize that it is my responsibility to know the boundaries of my precinct and be familiar with its residents and registered voters. I understand that my duties also include providing voters with campaign material for endorsed candidates prior to each primary and general election, get out the vote activities, new voter registration. Do you all agree with those responsibilities to carry them out?
Yes.
Yes.
And before the motion to appoint, can you please answer, are you a Democrat?
Yes.
All right, you've all answered in the affirmative. I now move that we appoint Lauren Schmidt, Carrie Sikorsky, and Councilmember Mosqueda as PCOs for the 34th District Democrats. Is there a second? It needs to be.
So moved, Chris.
Rachel.
Just a second. Okay. Only PCOs can vote. All those in
Second.
favor say aye.
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 All say no. All right. Congratulations on becoming PCOs.
Excuse me, who was the second?
I think Chris was the first one that said second.
Yes.
All right, I'm now happy to welcome Isabella, a Party Affairs Coordinator with Washington State Democrats, to share a brief update on what's going on with the party priorities and strategies for the year ahead. Isabella.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So thanks for having me tonight. I'm the Party Affairs Coordinator with the Washington State Democrats. And tonight I have some updates about elections for you guys. So right now the Party Affairs team is really focusing on the delegate selection process that I'm sure you all have heard about at either a state committee meeting or with correspondence from the state party. So we are excited about the delegates being elected pretty soon, and there's a bunch of trainings about how to become a delegate that are offered virtually if anyone's interested. And being a delegate is a really great opportunity to interact with the party, the state party, and the national party as a whole, get connected with activists, and is the only way to directly interact with the Democratic Party platform, and see that your ideas get sent to the state party and the national DNC. So that's my update about delegates. I hope you all are interested and attend one of our trainings or ask your chair about more details around becoming a delegate. And then on the election side, we have a new coordinated campaign director, Christina. She's really great. I'm really excited to work with her. And she is heading off the coordinated campaign that we are hosting around the state to help get Democrats elected up and down the ballot. And specifically focusing on the key congressional districts we're trying to win this year. And these include hitting every single congressional district, but for sure targeting district CD3 and CD8, where Marie Gluesenkamp Perez and Kim Schreier are. We really want to keep them in Congress right now. And then as well, we are also focused on defeating Dave Reichert as the Republican candidate and putting in a Democrat as the governor. That's a really big focus for the state party this year. We're also watching Congressional District 5 and 6 to see if there will be a viable run for a Democrat in those districts. We are watching Democratic turnout there and just trying to get some organizers in there. And then our primary LD battlegrounds are LD 10, LD 42, and LD 26. Your LD 34 always has really great high Democratic turnout, but those are the LDs that we are focusing on putting the most effort into this year to try and get Democrats elected. And we're doing work across the state, other than just our battlegrounds, but those are the battlegrounds that we are watching in 2024. I'm going to put my email in the chat in case anyone has any questions. Just give me 1 second.
There is no chat feature. So
Oh, okay. My
Sorry.
email is Isabella at wa-democrats.org, like all the other Washington State Dem staff. Or you can just email the party affairs email, and I'd be happy to answer a question about the delegate process or campaigns coming up. And then also a little bit more about the coordinated campaign from Christina. Is the coordinated campaign is set to maximize the effectiveness and efficiency of the 2024 Democratic turnout operation by running a joint turnout and mobilization effort statewide for Democrats up and down the ballot. So that's our update from the coordinated campaign. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. Yeah, does anyone have any questions for the state party or just me? I don't know if I can answer them all, but
any questions?
Isabella, hi, this is Carla. I just would, and it is completely my fault that the chat is not working tonight. I'll just be upfront about that.
no, you're so good.
If I would love to get some information about the different activities this year into our newsletter and our email. So are you the right person to talk to about, or that, or should we be reaching out to the other person you mentioned that's coordinated?
So I can help get them in touch with you, just because I would have to find the right person for the right events you're talking about, just like if you're talking about fundraisers or campaign activities and stuff. But I can put you in touch with the right people if you send me an email.
Great. Isabella.
Yeah.
Right?
Sorry, what did you say?
Just your first name at?
Yeah.
Okay, cool, thank you.
Yeah. Also, the thing I wanted to mention is standing committee appointments are due pretty soon. So if you guys haven't worked that out in your LD, I would love to hear who's in your standing committees. That's one of my roles, is helping make sure that everyone has a standing committee position and all the information for that. So I would love to receive your standing committees soon. Any other questions before I turn it back over to Graham? All right. Well, thanks for having me, you
Thank
guys.
you, Isabella, appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm now going to turn things over to Hannah Cameron, our membership chair, to kick off our membership drive for the year.
Well, hey y'all. I just first wanted to start off just by saying thank you for still being on this Zoom call. If you were at the pre-meeting program, you are already over 2 hours in. So thank you for still being here and letting me not talk to an empty room. As a bit of gratitude for you all still being here, I've got a two-part thank you for you. The first is that I plan on keeping my presentation short, maybe not sweet, but see said hearts on the display for my gratitude. The second part of my thank you is going to come at the end of my presentation, where I am going to tell you guys about a fun little gift basket giveaway that we're doing as a part of the spring membership drive that I'm going to talk to you about. So the like nitty-gritty details to talk about this, like kind of where our membership is, what we're hoping for. So just a quick status update. We're currently up to 132 members for 2024, and 80 of whom are dues paying members. And if you are one of those 80 folks, just like an extra big thank you to you, because it is because of your dues that you pay that is allowing us to be all with each other on Zoom. Unfortunately, Zoom is not free. You're also the reason why we can afford to rent meeting halls, give donations to some of the excellent Democrats that we've heard from who are, hopefully going to be showing up at our endorsement votes later on in the year. And critically, you guys are what's funding all of our Get Out the Vote efforts. We literally could not do any of that without the contributions that you guys are all sending our way, both monetarily and your time. So if you are either currently not a member, or you are one of our wonderful PCOs who is currently giving of your time, but maybe not monetarily, I would just ask you to take a moment and think about those things I just mentioned. Being able to get together with each other, funding our GOTV, helping get some of our candidates elected, and just kind of try and think about what's that worth to you, and then go fill out the membership form and put that on there either as like a one-time contribution for the year or a recurring contribution. And then that way you can be one of our extra special double dippers, giving us both time and money so that we can fund our efforts. Okay, so you're probably like, but Hannah, this says Stronger Together. Where does that part come in? And this is my big ask of you, because I know you guys are already here. You're already committed. I don't need to tell you, like, rah, like, be a member. I think you guys are all there. I think you're with me. But I am just a one person, and I said that we have 132 members already. And last year we ended with 335. So we've still got a bit of a ways to go. And as you all know, and I won't, emphasize too hard, we've got really important elections coming up, and we've got, we're going to need a whole heck of a lot of people power to, make our efforts known and effective. So I am asking you all to help me recruit more members, help make us stronger. So the bonus at the end that I told you guys about, the like, here's the fun stuff, Ram, if you could move forward, is we, Rebecca, our Young Democrats chair, and I have started putting together a fun gift basket of some goodies that is going to be from all across our district. So we think that, you might have been surprised at all of the areas and neighborhoods called out on that previous slide. We are diverse, and we also need a diverse membership too. And we want to represent folks from all across our district. So right now, just a few things. So there's going to be quite a bit more, but don't want to reveal the whole prize right away. But you'll be able to taste some delicious small batch ginger beer that's made over in the South Park neighborhood. You could even sip that in a, oh, there we go, don't blur, Easy Street Records mug that we've got. I've got it on hand here. We're going to be including a 34th t-shirt. Carla is currently wearing our current version, but we've also got a vintage edition that if that suits your fancy, you guys can pick that one instead. And we've one of the other things that I'm sharing about tonight is we've got this really cool book. Oh, blur effect is like ruining my vibe here, but it wouldn't be a complete basket about the 34th if we didn't also include something about the Duwamish, the river, and the people. So there's this really awesome book that talks about the true history, the long history of our area. So how do you win said basket? Next slide. There's a couple different ways. If you are one of my amazing already signed up members for the year, you've already entered. All you had to do was submit your form and you already did it. So congratulations. If you are not a member or not a dues paying member, then follow my advice and just go quick, fill out that form, help us pay for all the wonderful activities that we do. And as a little incentive to have you all help me make us stronger by bringing us all together is for every person that you bring into our membership, we will add your name again. So you get to just increase your chances to win, and we will be drawing a name for the gift basket at our March meeting in person, and hopefully we'll be able to give it away at that point, but I'll make sure that I get it to whomever it is who wins it. And if you're wondering, how do I get credit for helping bring someone into the 34th? There is a new spot on the membership form where they can type your name, or you can also email me at membership@34dems.org, just as a heads up of like, hey, Joe Biden is going to be signing up a membership form and I brought him to the org. And then I'll keep an eye out and make sure that you get that credit. Before I wrap up, just want to find out, does anybody have any questions or anything I can maybe clarify before we move on?
Sorry, Ed, what's the deadline? Just, I may have missed it.
Oh yeah, so we're going to be doing the drawing at the March membership meeting.
Okay.
So up to that meeting, so heck, you could even bring someone to the meeting who isn't a member, and if they sign up before I go to pull a name out of a hat or a jar or whatever, you'll get the credit, and so will they. I'll bring pen and pencil or something like that. Yeah, hey Bunny.
Yeah, how are you going to monetize your upcoming endorsements?
You know, there's the people who want to vote to endorse particular candidates will have to be members.
Yes, this is true. You know, if those folks become members, you know, before our March meeting, they'll get to be included in this, but we are holding this drawing a little bit earlier in the year so that we're really making sure that we catch folks who are interested in our full mission, and maybe not just making sure that they can vote in endorsements.
Right, but don't they have to, with our new
policies? Wouldn't they
We
have to
haven't-
join?
We haven't adopted.
Oh, yeah, the bylaws revisions haven't come before the membership yet for
Okay.
approval. So yeah, not a complication we have to worry about. Well, hearing no other questions and not seeing any other hands, I will turn this back over. But if anything strikes you, I do try and be responsive to that email address. So feel free to email me there, or you can message me on Slack. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Hannah. I hope everyone signs up, gets friends to sign up, more chances to win. And appreciate the creative thinking. So if you haven't already, we need you to sign up to be a delegate to represent the 34th at our state Democratic convention in June, as Isabella shared. As a delegate, you get to elect delegates to the national convention. You get to draft and approve state party resolutions. You get to draft amendments to approve the party platform. Come on, this is fun stuff, folks. And network with party and other Democrats who are committed to winning in 2024. So 34th members will elect our state delegates delegates to the state convention on April 6th. Voting happens via electronic ballot, and the state party is going to send out the ballot to our membership list. So we will give them our membership list and they will send the ballot out. In order to be a delegate, or to run to be a delegate, you must permanently reside in our legislative district. So if you're part of the 34th, you already did that. You must be a Democrat. And go ahead and file online. Go to wademsdelegates.org, pre-register now, and the filing closes on March 31st. Here's how to run. Here's the form that you fill out. So you just enter your name, your legislative district, what you want to run for. You can also run for national delegate and elector. We're really focused on, and Rachel is leading our efforts to recruit folks to be state delegates. And then once you fill that out, you'll have a candidate profile that looks something like this, that folks can see and hear about. And you'll also be asked to come to a 34th meeting that will hold a special meeting between April 1st and April 5th, where delegates will have an opportunity, or folks running to be delegates will have an opportunity to share why they want to be delegate. We'll make some time for that as well. So really encouraging all of you to please go out there, sign up, and help represent us in the 34th. Carla, your hand's up.
Question, Graham. Way before all of the, I guess it was January 29th when they opened up the registration, they had the pre-register to run, and I'm assuming that some people went ahead like I did and completed that form. Were we supposed to get something like the page still says pre-register?
Yeah.
Is it
I'm
open
gonna-
now? Is it different? Because I definitely don't have that page that you just showed.
Thank you, Carla. The same here.
Isabella, if you're still on,
Same here.
are you able to answer this question?
Yeah. So right now we're just in registration filing. So the website is still being built that will display it. The information you submit when you pre-register is being recorded and it will go live pretty soon. And we're doing the final beta testing this week. So should be live in the next few days for people to look at their profiles.
Ooh. Sorry to be too many questions here, but like in years past, you've had to like provide sort of like a reason to vote for me kind of thing, and that was not part of the pre-registration. Is that going to be still part of this year?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
So I don't know, Graham, what you just showed, but maybe that would help if we had that slide back up. In the past, you go in here, right here, yes. So where you have Lorem Ipsum here, this is obviously just a comp, but that paragraph to say why vote for me, or tell, tell about yourself.
Yeah.
That isn't part of the pre-registration. So are we going to have the opportunity to contribute that before these pages go live?
Yes, pre-registration is just the first portion to get notified, and then the larger registration has broader information later
Gotcha.
on.
Okay, any idea when that's going to come open? Because we do promote these kinds of things on our website and
yes.
on our email.
So we're in the final stages of beta testing. So we're gonna have that out to you in a couple days. And then I'm not sure exactly when the actual filing deadline is. That's not pre-registration, but I think as soon as the website goes live, it should be good. Yeah, I don't have a more concrete answer for you, but while I'm looking at the DSAP, it says that March 31st is the final reg deadline. So you'll have between a couple days from now and then to fully register.
So if we pre-registered, are we going to get notified that it's open and we can now fill out this other information? Because I pre-registered and I had to do it twice because it said I hadn't, but I had.
Yes, I think you will be notified. Yes, you will be notified.
Yeah, we got initial emails after doing the pre-registration saying that we would get something else. And it did mention having to do a supplier photo and a reason to vote for us.
Yeah, so essentially the pre-registration thing is just to make sure that we know who is interested before the site could go live. And then once the site goes live, then we'll take all of your information and a photo and everything. So if you've already registered for delegate, be on the lookout for that reminder. But yeah, does anyone else have any questions?
I do. This is Rachel, and my question is, do you have sort of a general ballpark time of when we should expect that to arrive in our inbox?
I don't have a general ballpark. I'm assuming once the site goes live, things will move pretty quickly. So I would assume by the end of next week.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, y'all. If you have any questions, please.
I appreciate you staying on, and I guess people did have questions for you. So there.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. I assumed that once you got to this part, people would have some more questions. So feel free to reach out anytime to partyaffairs@wa-democrats.org if you have more questions.
Thank you, Isabella. Appreciate it. All right, good of the order. Any good of the orders, Anne?
Yeah, first let me comment on Annie. I worked extensively with her on getting money out of politics and initiative, and we worked for several years, including with Fixed Democracy First in Wamand, and she was a dynamo, a real powerhouse. Secondly, I have a great opportunity for you. On February 29th, the West Seattle Democratic Women are going to have Shasti Conrad, the chair of the Washington State Democrats. So if you have any questions, you can certainly join us. That will be at 5:45, doors open, dinner at 6 o'clock, and Shasti at 6:45. Dinner is $20. And finally, a comment on the presentation on Black History Month. I had a question. Is the reparations excise tax the reason that they're running advertisements about how bad the excise tax is? And secondly, when my husband and I first were looking at houses in West Seattle, our real estate agent, this was in 1976, our real estate agent assured us that the only Black resident in the area was a doctor. We almost walked away, but it truly is an issue that is not all that old. No, thank you. Oh, by the way, if you want to RSVP for the dinner with Shasti, get in touch with me. Probably best to text at 206-612 6239 by tomorrow so that I can put in the order for food. Thank you.
Thank you. And was that a question for someone though that you asked?
I can answer that
have
really
you-
quick with regard to the
Okay.
excise tax. So to my knowledge, there's no opposition campaign at this time to overturn that. It's written to law. I can't remember when it takes effect, but there is a link in that slideshow. And I think, Graham, you have that slideshow. You can distribute it to the rest of the membership. And on the slide where it talks about reparative justice, there's a link that you can access, and it'll take you to a little bit more information about the status of that bill and its impact.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Preston. Stephen?
My comments are about Burien and some questionable things that are possibly happening in Burien starting on Monday at the council meeting. At the last council meeting, which was 2 weeks ago, the council asked the staff to bring back a proposal for raising the minimum wage. And they had all kinds of carve-outs and limitations and that sort of behavior in what they're asking the staff to do. We would like to encourage people to come to the city council meeting and urge the council not to carve out certain employers and not to carve out people who get tips to address the issue in a larger sense. And secondly, there's a request on the council's calendar to reconsider the renter rights that the council passed in the last couple of years. And we expect them to bring that back because of the new nature of the council. So for that reason, also asking people to come to the council meeting at 7 o'clock on next Monday. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that's important information, particularly the minimum wage. Those carve-outs are things that I know labor and we have asked not to be included. So thank you. Bunny?
Yeah, just to let people know about some endorsement stuff at King County. We originally had Pramila tentatively scheduled for March 14th, but that conflicts with King County Democrats, the second part of the DEI training. So we're moving that to March 18th and checking with Pramila's folks now. On April 4th, we have Adam Smith scheduled. And somebody mentioned something tonight that's happening on April 4th, and I didn't get what it was. But on that night, the King County Democrats will be interviewing, among others, Adam Smith. These are going to be candidate interviews, and the endorsement committees of all LDs are welcome to attend them.
Thank you, Bunny. Chris?
Thank you, Graham. A couple of things, which is first, we still are in desperate need of Democrats as election observers. And as we move closer to the November election, there will be, and even the primary coming up, the Republican observers and candidate supporters that come there are not really looking to see whether or not they follow the King County elections are following their process, but looking for doubt and reasons to say that it isn't fair or that the votes weren't counted. And I experienced, I think I shared this with you all before, when I observed the recount for a Mercer Island school board election, and the candidate that was losing had a cadre of folks who were just peppering the King County election folks, looking for fault, looking for any reason to say that they have somehow miscounted the votes, overlooking the fact that in that race, 330 voters didn't even bother to make a decision in that race. And I happily pointed that out to the loser, that the problem isn't with King County elections, it's knocking those doors and asking your constituents to fill out the ballot completely so that you have a better sense of a win or loss. The other thing is, I think it was Saturday, I put in 20,000 steps protesting a Trump display on Fauntleroy between 37th and 38th, selling these, and actually it's a public park, and I don't even think he had a permit to be there. And I just paced up and down with a thumbs down the entire time until the sun went down, and then went home because it was kind of cold too. And I think, yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you, Chris. Thanks for doing that. Appreciate it. All right, Rachel. I'm sorry, Dorothy was next. I apologize, Dorothy.
In recent years, I read The Warmth of Other Suns, which talked about 4 families migrating during the Great Migration that Heston answered and discussed. So if anybody has not read it, I would highly recommend that. Also, it was called The Color of Law. And, I always knew about redlining, but there was a whole horrible things that went on, a lot of intimidation through violence. And again, it's called The Color of Law. And it would kind of make you ill, but I think there was just a whole lot to deny people the right to be able to live where they wanted. So The Color of Law, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that resource. Rachel?
Thank you. If any of you are interested in continuing your research and learnings about the situation in Gaza, there is a play that's called My Name is Rachel Corrie. And Rachel Corrie was an activist who spent some time in Gaza. She was a very young woman. And in fact, Jen, our speaker tonight, was very good friends with her, and it continues to be very, very good friends with her parents. Anyway, this play, My Name is Rachel Corrie, is the script is taken from the writings of Rachel Corrie. It is going to be, there's a play reading at the Intiman Theater, included with a panel conversation. That is Wednesday, March 20th. Oh, is that our meeting?
No, it may be a board meeting, but that's, yeah.
Okay, well, it's March 20th, which is a Wednesday at 7:30. It's at the Erickson Theater, 1524 Harvard Avenue. If anyone is interested, you can look up on the Intiman website, which is intiman.org, and there is information about it, or you can just get in touch with me and I will give you the information.
Thank you. Thanks, Rachel. Lastly, Carla.
Real quick, just to add on to what Stephen was saying, I just want to make sure that I also add that I've been working with the Transit Riders Union as well. Stephen's on there as well, on doing a ballot, trying to gather signatures for a ballot initiative. So that is going forward. We made the decision this week. We are going to go forward with it. I'm pretty excited. It's the first ballot initiative I've ever been involved in myself. But that ballot initiative will be to do a better plan than what the council in Burien is probably going to pass, based on what Stephen said. So I mentioned this to the board, and I'm going to be really hoping that we can support and promote folks helping with the signature gathering. I think we have to gather about 5,000 signatures, which shouldn't be a problem. But we're hoping to follow in Renton's footsteps with getting it on the ballot in November, which will be a high turnout. And then we really don't need, we can make this happen. So anybody interested in working with me on that, and Stephen, let me know, but I'll be hopefully sharing some information about it in the upcoming emails. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and hopefully King County Council will take up the minimum wage in unincorporated King County again too. So finally, the next board meeting is scheduled for February 28th at 7 p.m. You can contact me for details. Our next membership meeting is on March 13th. Now, if there's no further business, there's no objection, the meeting will be adjourned.
So moved.
There being no objection, the February meeting is adjourned at 9:09 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Good night, and see you in March.
Thanks,
everyone.
Graham.
Night, y'all.
Good night.